Here we presents the top 5 best telescopes. Starting at number 5, Meade LX200ACF. By far the most expensive telescope on our list, this range actually goes up to a whopping 356mm aperture, though the average weekend stargazer neither needs, nor can afford that kind of capability. Nor is this a short, fast telescope. A focal ratio of f10 means that atmospheric conditions will generally be the limiting factor when it comes to effective magnification, not the telescope itself. Although you can aim it manually, the computerized aiming system is exceptionally accurate and includes a GPS unit for easier and more accurate calibration. If there is one bad thing to say about the mount, it's that it's of the Altas type, meaning that the view frame will seem to rotate as the Earth moves, even if an object is being tracked correctly. The wide objective gathers plenty of light, but photographers will probably want to buy an equatorial wedge to enable exposures of half a minute or more. Taking the LX200ACF on road trips is also not something to be undertaken lightly. At about £100 for the 83 model and rising to over £150 for the 143, it's just not very portable, even if you're not too worried about this very expensive piece of gear getting damaged or stolen. You'll have to buy a transport case separately too, but collimation is, thankfully, easy to do. For more information and price, check out the product links in description. At number 4, Skyr Travel Scope 70mm. Some amateur skygazers specifically refer to themselves as the backyard type. Spending an evening on your own lawn is certainly convenient, travel costs are minimal, and there are snacks. What, however, is someone living in a well-lit city to do? Even the best telescope's performance is severely degraded by light pollution. This generally means that a road trip is called for if you want to see celestial bodies at their best, and it just happens that sharing a telescope at a campsite is way more fun than telling ghost stories. This Gskyer telescope doesn't have that problem, while the lightweight and the fact that both the tripod and scope fit into a carrying bag make it much more convenient for use in remote locations. Of course, weighing only 6 pounds and coming in at a competitive price, this device isn't built like a tank. Handle it with at least rudimentary caution. To sum up, if you're specifically looking for a telescope you can travel with, this is one of the better choices out there. If, on the other hand, you don't plan on dragging your scope around in the wilderness, something like the Meade Instruments Infinity will probably satisfy you better. Halfway of my listed number 3, Orion StarBlast 6. Although not nearly as versatile as tripod-mounted models, tabletop telescopes like the Orion StarMax 90mm and this product from the same manufacturer do have their adherents. In particular, these are usually easy to move from one place to another and set up once there, and astronomy is a hobby that's much more fun when shared. Just know that you'll need something very sturdy to place it on. A concrete picnic table will be ideal. You can also, if you prefer, buy a suitable tripod in case a convenient platform isn't available. This scope can also be upgraded with an IntelliScope module, which isn't designed to work with the StarMax and wouldn't do much good on an easily aligned 90mm telescope anyway. Unfortunately, though it is possible to hook up a phone or camera to this telescope, actually taking photographs is a bit iffy and depends on your setup. Many DSLRs simply will not be able to get into focus, which will be a deal breaker for many. A focal ratio of f5 can also be a headache, depending on what you plan to use it for. It makes accurate collimation that much more crucial, and the scope will do better at displaying galaxies and star clusters than narrow-angle targets like the planets in our own solar system. For more information and price, check out the product links in description. Coming in at number 2, Skywatcher Evostar. Despite the fact that reflector telescopes are often preferred due to their many advantages, it's also true that a well-made refractor beats a mediocre reflector any day. In particular, truly high-end, chromatically adjusted refractors are known for the clarity and contrast with which they can display fine detail, making them an option that serious photographers would do well to consider. The very first thing you should know is that this telescope, whether in the 80mm, 100mm, or 120mm variant, is sold without a mount or tripod. You'll effectively be paying more than the already hefty price tag. Since a decent motorized mount can cost close to $1,000, this is not a scope you'd buy, unless you have a specific purpose in mind for it. This telescope, being a refractive type, is relatively portable and is supplied with a metal transport case. This seems like an excellent idea at this price, but it's certainly not a toy you would bring along on a weekend getaway like the Gskyer travel scope or even the Orion StarBlast. The good news is that the clarity this telescope provides has to be seen to be believed. Even at high magnifications, images remain crisp and color correct. Anyone who wants to take their astrophotography hobby to the next level and is willing to spend a hefty sum for the privilege will love this telescope. And number 1. Meade Infinity. With telescopes, as with much in life, what's good enough for one person just won't be sufficient for another. Recognizing this, Meade produces a whole range of telescopes based on the same basic design. The differences between the various options are pretty significant, though. Aside from the wide variety of aperture sizes available, you'll find that the focal ratios of the various options differ greatly. This means that the low-F models generally offer lower effective magnifications and show greater distortion at any given level of zoom. Though this telescope is of the refractive type, it includes a 90 degrees prism, so that objects appear the right way around, meaning that it's much easier to navigate around the night sky or a landscape. For each telescope, the prospective buyer has a range of viewing powers from which they can choose, from about 10x to over 100x. This is achieved by swapping out the included eyepieces, of which each model has either 2 or 3 tailored to their optics, giving a decent range of viewing options. If you find yourself in this position, you could do worse than selecting whichever is the biggest aperture telescope from this range that falls into your budget. Don't, however, expect stellar image quality. This is truly a hobbyist telescope, good for spotting birds, ships, planets, and lunar features, but you won't be able to see nearly as much fine detail as with more expensive models. If you live in an area with large amounts of light pollution, your viewing will be limited to closer, brighter objects, especially if you choose one of the lower aperture models. I have included these product link in the description. You can check out this link for more information and latest price. Thank you for watching this video. Please hit the like button, share with your friends, and be sure to subscribe.